well for the Cyclones, winners of their last 5. We'll re-tip. Ebo Harmon, Gaston, Holly, and Alan Taylor, the starting 5 on the floor for Texas. Ryan, Espen, Miller, McGraw, Donarski, Jones, and Kane.
Well, and Donarski jumping at the center. She is at 6 feet tall and not the center for Iowa State. So Iowa State playing defensive already to start this game. Iowa State will play 2-3 zone throughout most of the game. 10 seconds on the shot clock.
See Texas with that early emphasis, trying to feed the post. Holly off on the 3. That careens out of bounds, but will stay this way.
One of the reasons Dee Gaston is in the game is because she's got great length. As a sophomore, she is their inside 4 player. 23 offensive rebounds for Texas in the game against Oklahoma State.
Harmon gets it in bounds, will receive it back from Holly and set up. Alan Taylor off the dribble. Gaston with the rebound. That ball will stay once again. Something to keep an eye on the glass for this evening.
Yeah, big key for Iowa State. It's not sexy, it's not new. It's just fundamental boxing out as we see the starting lineups for Texas. But Iowa State has got to clean up on the glass. They cannot permit Texas to have extra opportunities.
Third opportunity of this possession for Texas. Harmon with the jumper. Bouncing around and out. Now the Cyclones collect. 21-3 on the season. 6-2 on the road. Their best overall record through 24 games. A team that loves to shoot the 3 tries the post, and Beatrice Jordao, who was off. Back into the post once again, another jumper for Texas. That one misses everything from Holly. So Texas 0 for 5 from the field to start the contest. Penetration, but the shot is off from the sophomore Lexi Donarski. Texas back the other way, but no numbers as Harmon pushes. Well off. Ashley Jones, the senior from Iowa City, Iowa, 12 points away from becoming the leading scorer in program history. Called for a travel and a turnover. Both teams a little nerves here to start?
Yeah, a little bit slow to start in this game. A pace that Bill Fenley would not like to have. He's won all those games, 727 of them, with a team that likes to run, that like to shoot the 3 ball. They like to play with great pace, and this is a pretty slow game to start off with.
It's a team that has the longest streak. They've made NCAA history in terms of making at least 1 3. Coach Finley named to the Naismith Coach of the Year watch list. Earlier today, whittled down to 15 names. High regard for what he and their team has done is the shot clock moving down. Texas has settled for jumpers. That off once again from Harmon.
That's one of the things I think that Iowa State does very well. Defensively, they don't take a lot of chances, and they force you into taking shots you don't want to take. Then at the offensive end, they are really good at spreading the floor, picking you apart, putting Ashley Jones in that situation where she can go one-on-one in the paint, where she's ambidextrous and able to finish really well.
So the first points of the ball game nearly 3 minutes in. Jones now just 10 points away from becoming the program all-time leader.
Texas needs to feed the ball inside and just read the defense. A turnover right there. They're not doing a very good job of moving the basketball on offense.
It was Emily Ryan that came over to swipe the ball. The jumper missed by Donarski. Texas 0 for 7. Alan Taylor makes it 0 for 8. Rebound for Jones, who is also a very good rebounder.
Texas playing with only 4 defenders as Iowa State gets that basket there on that basket drive to the hoop. Joanne Allen Taylor fell very hard. It looked like on her back side.
It's a senior for Texas from Houston. It's currently down, being looked at.
It's always tough when you fall so hard on your, what it looked to be is her tailbone. You don't see Joanne Allen Taylor on the ground very often. Usually she's popping back up, but
see that left hand too, cradling that lower back area. She's being helped out off the court right now. So good to see her up after the hard fall.
Well, Joanne Allen Taylor has been so critical for Texas in these last couple of weeks as the senior leader out there. She's the emotional leader. Generally, she gets the team going, and she's the one offensively, I think, that is the most consistent. She's able to penetrate into gaps on the zone defenses, make things happen. See if they can get somebody in for her, and hope to see her back into the game today.
Yeah, looked like a positive sign, though. Smile to her teammates. We'll take a seat on the bench. Have a nice piece on her at halftime, talking about how she is the emotional heartbeat for this team.
Aaliyah Matharu coming into the game, number 2 for Texas. A tremendous scorer.
Junior from Washington, D.C., transferred from Mississippi State. As Iowa State right now looks content to let Texas settle for those longer jump shots, mid-range, nailed by D. Gaston.
Better offense right there. Get into that short corner behind the zone and make Iowa State guard that. Good job by D. Gaston.
Jones will bring the ball up. The 2021 Cheryl Miller Award winner, best small forward in the country. Coach Schaefer was talking about her as shoot-around, saying, hey, this is one of, if not the best player in the Big 12. Defense on the shot from Kane.
Good transition defense by Iowa State. A couple of times Texas has looked to run, which is a great way to beat zone defenses, beat them down the floor. Iowa State getting back quickly.
See the top of that zone, Naimir Dew, the sophomore from Marshall, Minnesota. Number 1, she picks up the ball there, but substitution expect Cyclones to go to their bench as the corner 3 drilled by Harmon.
Nice job by Harmon. If you remember against Oklahoma, she struggled in that first quarter. This basket also gives Texas the chance to pick up in that full court pressure.
Lee Ryan trying to break that. The phenomenal point guard as she goes off the glass. The sophomore from Claflin, Kansas. One-time Big 12 Player of the Week already. She had 17 assists in their last game, a win over TCU. It was a program single game record, but doing it herself there as her team with a 1-point advantage, over halfway gone in this opening quarter. It's Harmon working the jumper.
Yeah, and I think to be successful against Iowa State, you have got to be able to knock down a jumper or two to get them to pull out and defend you more out of that zone, open some things up on the interior.
Iowa State today worked a lot, knowing that they were going to get that press from Texas as Jones off the dribble, misses. Nebo collects the rebound. Another jumper for Texas, and Gaston off. Nebo there, muscling her way up. Another second chance opportunity, jump ball call. So a scrappy start for this one with massive Big 12 implications. Good news for Texas. Freshman Rory Harmon off to a good start from the field. Picture there the first black head coach for any sport, and Retha Swindell, a player that he recruited, the first black letter winner to play basketball at the University of Texas. In the house tonight.
Absolutely, and you know, a lot of people don't know that Retha was on scholarship as on an academic scholarship, not an athletic scholarship when she first started here. Tremendous rebounder, amazing rebounder, and an even better person.
Yeah, you dipped into your archives, an old program of her professional playing days you brought there, but Iowa State trying to break the press quickly. They missed their shot, and Texas with the quick response on the other end. You see the pressure from Texas ratcheting things up for the Cyclones.
Yeah, and I saw Rodney Page sitting there applauding that look by Shea Hawley as she got the basket and then causing a turnover here. I think this is when Texas is at their best. They're better offensively when they lock in defensively.
Coach Schaefer 4-0 against Iowa State in his career. Texas owns the all-time series history, 23-21. This is the 45th meeting between these two teams. Longhorns have won the last 4 as Shea Holly continues the hot shooting. Texas starting 0 of 8. Since then, they are 5 of 7 from the field. Just franticness right now for the Cyclones. Yeah. Trying to work into their offense.
The whole goal is not to allow the Cyclones to be comfortable, and Texas is doing just that.
See just the swarm of bodies. The elbow jumper is off from Espinilla McGraw. Texas on the break. Holly with the finish.
And that is why Shea Holly is getting a lot of minutes. Has been starting the last 3 games. Missed a couple of shots early, but sticks with it. Her work ethic and her speed down the floor is second to none on this Texas team.
Longhorns with an 8-0 scoring run. Jones brings the ball up. You'd have thought that Texas would have made the first 3 in the contest tonight. You would be right. Iowa State, though, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. They have the best percentage in the Big 12, 38.9. Third amongst all teams in the NCAA. Right now 0 for 2 from deep. Ebo's good.
Ebo didn't play in the game against Iowa State in Ames a month ago. Making a difference today.
Texas living in the mid-range right now.
Yeah, how about that?
Jones will cast out from 3, and that's what she can do.
Dee Gaston, number 5 out there, just a sophomore, has the difficult job of guarding Ashley Jones today, and that is a tough one. You cannot lose focus really for one moment, because that's what Ashley Jones will do to you.
Averages 19.9 points per, third in the Big 12. 2-time unanimous all Big 12 first team selection. Gaston is off and Jones gets the rebound. She averages 9.3 rebounds per game. Very surprising for a player that has the ball, shoots as much and scores as much as she does, but just the all-around game for the senior star. Kane misses, and this is something that the Cyclones talked about, wanting to work the ball into the post. We've seen that thus far. Well, the next women's basketball game on LHN Saturday, February 26th, TCU in town. Texas won the first meeting on the 22nd of January, 68-47. Joanne Allen Taylor had 14 points. TCU, Texas, Saturday, 26th of February, 7 Central here on LHN, the ESPN app as well.
Couple of subs coming in for Texas. 2 freshmen, Lattimore on the inside, number 35, and Aaliyah Moore on the inside.
Haven't seen Allen Taylor back up onto the floor yet, if we hear anything in regards to her after that hard fall. She is still out on the bench. Working into one of those substitutions in Moore.
Joanne Allen Taylor, though, I will tell you, she's sitting over on the bench right by where Coach Schaefer sits, and I guarantee you she's got that look where every time he looks at her, she's going, "I'm ready, Coach, I'm ready, I'm ready."
Itching to get back in. There's a foul on the floor, but this is something Coach Finley had specifically pointed out. He knew the physicality, especially on the glass, that his team would face. Said, hey, they're going to be rebounding over your back. You just got to play through it as Holly's off from 3.
Again, the spread out offense, 5 out, a lot of room to throw those lob passes. Good help.
Unfortunately for Moore, she will be whistled for the foul.
I think the screen and roll in the middle of the floor and you spread everybody out with shooters is one of the most difficult things to guard because there just isn't help defense, and Moore thought she had a lot of ball right there. Pretty good pressure, but just a better play right there by Jordao.
Beatriz Jordao, the senior from Pombal, Portugal, started her career at the University of South Florida before transferring over. 4 games in double figures, a 59% free throw shooter on the season.
At 6'3", she gives Bill Fenley something that he sorely needed in this season, was a big on the inside. So between Kane and Jordao, they're trying to get it done.
Harmon going quick the other way with the game clock down. So a frantic first quarter after Texas, a slow shooting start. They turn it on. They lead by 4 here in Austin.
On the leaderboard with those Big 12 leaders.
This is a team known for their three-point shooting, but if we look at your keys to the game, that's what Texas has done a great job at shutting down thus far.
Yeah, they want to attack pressure with pressure for Iowa State, and they haven't been able to do that yet. Very few wide open looks or easy looks on the interior. Also, they need to hit the glass. We already see that Texas has a number of offensive rebounds, 5 of them. Texas got to defend the 3. I think they've done a tremendous job here early on. Iowa State 1 for 3 in the first quarter, and then pound the paint. This is just I'm just going to use that key for the rest of the year. Texas has got to have inside play. From the beginning of the year, we knew that was a question, and they need to continue to develop that part of their game.
Matharu, Harmon, Gaston, Holly, and Warren, 5 on the floor as they go into Gaston. There's the pounding of the paint.
Absolutely, and Gaston's been a little up and down. She went through a couple of weeks. She played very well as we see this full court press and an orthodox way to break it. Iowa State does that often. They put 4 players out of bounds or all 5 players, and then Texas has to figure out how to defend those 5. Here's where they need to attack pressure with pressure. So right now they're backing up with the pressure. There's a lot of Texas help. They need to figure out a way to get some better shots, some easier looks from 3.
Ryan, who loses it, Harmon tipping it to herself to run the break. And a cutting Warren, who finishes off the glass.
Yeah, Audrey Warren off the bench. She's been coming off the bench a couple weeks now, and she's such a spark off the bench. Her ability to play tough defensively, get on the boards, take charges, excite the crowd.
Mentioned top of the show, matched a career high with 21 points in that victory against Oklahoma. 2 really important wins in conference play for Texas on the road against a good Texas Tech team and against Oklahoma here at home.
Iowa State looking to probe the defense, finally gets a look on the inside one-on-one. Ryan at 5'11" has a height advantage over Rory Harmon. That's an intriguing matchup, I think, today. 2 young players, 2 young point guards.
Ryan, the sophomore, leading the Big 12 in assists per game, 2nd in the NCAA. Is contact there. It'll be Donarski called for the foul as Warren going to the ground.
First quarter, you see Ashley Jones with those 5 points. Points hard to come by, 7 shy of the ISU career scoring record. We're tracking that one, and Texas started 0 for 8 and picked things up. Those offensive rebounds they weren't able to capitalize on. 5 offensive rebounds, no second chance points for them, but Shea Holly got hot.
Cheer from the Texas fans was Joanne Allen Taylor checking back into the game as she will set up the offense. 10 on the shot clock. Warren loses the handle and turns it over. Just too much on the lead pass to get a shot, but out for 3. That one off by Espen Miller-McGraw. So 1 for 5 of the Cyclones from deep. 5 of 17, 29% they're shooting from the field.
Matharu taking it to the hole right there. She is so good off of the dribble, but at her size, it's so tough for her to finish around the rim with the whole defense looking at her.
Good open look from the top of the key. That one buried. Espen Miller-McGraw, she's their leader in terms of percentage, 3-point shooting wise. She shoots an even 50% from deep, and that trims the lead to just 3 for Texas.
It's great for Fenway to have Espen Miller-McGraw back in the lineup. She's been in and out the last few years and such a heady player, great shooter.
Warren works up and under, cannot get it to fall. Good quality look though for Texas. Opportunity to tie here.
For you or I, that would be a bad shot. But for Iowa State, when they have a look and they're open, I think Coach Fenley encourages them to take those kind of shots, even if it's early in a shot clock.
That light is very green for...
Is it a bad shot for you?
About 4 players. You've seen me shoot. It's never a bad shot. That is a very good shot. This is what Texas continues to to do. They just push and work their way down the floor. Coach Finley knew that that's the way that they would attack his Iowa State defenses. Warren with the bucket. A couple free throws coming up for the contact between Warren and Emily Ryan.
Audrey Warren's been on the floor a couple of times, probably as many minutes. She's played a couple of minutes and on the floor a couple of times. She is a very physical player, trying to get down the floor there. It looked like she might have banged her head on this play, just tripped. Well, hold our breath when she goes to the floor. She's been on the floor so much over her career.
And an 86% free throw shooter. That's something that Iowa State does. As good as any team in the country.
If you take a look at their free throw shooting, maybe not in the last game, but in the 4 games prior, they were shooting just 76%, leaving some free throw points at the line. And I think Coach Finley would like to see that cleaned up as the season goes on.
Season on the whole, they shoot 81.2%, tops in the Big 12, second amongst all teams in the NCAA. Just 1 of 2 there. Into the post, Texas missing these close shots.
Texas, I think, 3 for 7 with their layups thus far in the game. They've been at about 50% here over the last couple of weeks. Need to do a better job of finishing those plays.
Donarski working, shot clock at 10. On to Holly, up and under. Both teams sub 40, Texas 38%, Iowa State even 30.
I like this lineup out there. Joanne Allen Taylor at the point guard, Rory Harmon getting a little bit of a break, and Audrey Warren playing the 4, where I just think she's a tough matchup. You can't guard her with the big because she's so much quicker and just a really high IQ player.
It's also, too, if you're worried about Ashley Jones scoring on you, make her work on the defensive end. That's exactly what Warren did. So Joanne Allen Taylor back into the game, the emotional leader, showing the emotions there. Her team at a 23-17 advantage.
He is such a great mentor, role model, as is Aretha Swindell. Talks to the team at different times and has been a mentor for many of us over the years.
4 minutes, 50 seconds left in this opening half. Tyler Denning, Andrea Lloyd. This is a very important one in the Big 12. Iowa State leads the conference with their record of 10-2 in Big 12 play. Texas, though, with 1 victory on the year already in Ames.
And a blocking foul right there by Matharu. I thought that was a tremendous job by Jordao of catching the ball on the inside. Again, that screen and roll in the middle of the paint. Look at the left or right foot of Matharu. Her foot is on the line, and
they reversed the call. Initially, it was going to be an opportunity.
Listen,
for
I just
one.
want y'all to show the video again of the official, because the official pointed at the arc and said, you know, what you do, how you know if it's a block charge call on the floor, not you look at what the official is calling, how you know what they're calling. And the official made the call and pointed at the arc, which is the sign, the universal sign, might add, of it being a block because the player had their foot on the line. We saw her foot on the line, did we not?
Yeah, Coach Finley had his first opportunity to talk to Michael McConnell, part of the officiating crew, who overturned that call. It would have been a huge opportunity for a 3-point play, as Holly with an opportunity from deep is off. Jones with the rebound. Feels like a crucial juncture in this game. If Iowa State can pull themselves back in as Dew nails the 3.
That's a huge 3 right there. And I was about to say before that charge was called down here is Iowa State looks a little more comfortable in their offense. They look like they've caught their breath and they're able to take their time, and they're getting some better looks.
Allen Taylor is well off, but that rebound right into the hands of Texas. A lot of bodies we have seen on the floor in this opening half. Shot clock dwindling down to 5. Warren collects off her own miss. Texas a chance to reset.
Yeah, and Audrey Warren, a nice job of just following a shot and going to the boards. Oftentimes she's not in the perfect position, but she's able to pick things up because of just the way the ball bounces.
Well, game plan with the two respective coaches for the Texas basketball programs. Coach Chris Beard coming off that big win in Norman against Oklahoma, and Coach Vic Schaefer here on Longhorn Network, Monday 7 Central for Coach Beard and Coach Schaefer Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central.
The turnover, Iowa State getting the basketball. A foul right there on Lauren Ebo for Texas. Boy, Texas is really doing a nice job of keeping Iowa State from straight line dives. And look at that double team and help.
Jones has not been able to find her spaces for her shot. Harmon misses into the floor once again, but refs letting them play physical. You see Harmon there. That one was caught by the baseline official. Some contact up top.
Well, if you're going to do something like that, you definitely don't want to do it right in front of an official. And Lisa Jones is seeing that extension of the arm and the elbow.
We saw our crew chief for the evening, Brenda Pantoa, and as mentioned, Michael McConnell, the officiating trio. Texas 0 for their last 5, 1 of their last 7. The scoring drought over 2 minutes.
Ebo continues to work on the inside. Keep your eye down there on number 1 and number 31 in red.
That'll be a charge drawn. Jones beating Warren to the spot.
Well, and you mentioned a moment ago how this was a critical moment for Iowa State at the offensive end. I think for Texas it's a critical moment as well, because they've played fairly well up until this point. As
Ashley Jones once again collecting another foul. It was Ebo trying to work through the screen. We've seen that action nearly every time, except for when they've gone 4 out of bounds on their inbounds play. And now Iowa State in the bonus, and Ebo with her second foul. And as mentioned, Iowa State, a phenomenal free throw shooting team, over 80%, best in the Big 12. They have an opportunity, 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. Jones going to the line, an 86% free throw shooter.
And just to finish that thought that I had started, I think it's a critical point right now for Texas at both ends of the floor. They're a young team. When you start getting subs into the game, like Hunter's in the game right now as a freshman, Rory Harmon's going to be back in the game. The biggest thing you are concerned about is, can they maintain the focus in a tough, hard-fought top 15 game like today? Because that is critical against an Iowa State team.
1 point Texas, their lead was 9 points. But now just to 1. As who can close out this half. Momentum in the Cyclones portion of the court, but Texas still with the lead. No points over the last 2.5 minutes for the 14th ranked Texas Longhorns.
Just watch this zone, a little bit of a triangle or a box and one it looked like for a moment, but what a great shot by Audrey Jones. That was just simple. She's open, shoot.
Yeah, Iowa State has been content to let Texas shoot that mid-range, and Warren making them pay. Jones crossing the timeline, but Alan Taylor swipes the ball. Chance one-on-one. Harmon there to bother, but Jones comes up with it. Neither team giving it an inch thus far.
Great denied defense right here.
Trying to get it out, but Gaston there. Gaston will shoot free throws, the foul against Morgan Kane.
I love when Dee Gaston sets her mind to it and is able to get in passing lanes. She has got more looks and easy looks. That wasn't an easy look necessarily, but opportunities just by getting in the passing lane, being quicker than the person she's playing against. And Texas's defense is so much better when they're able to do that.
You see the numbers for Texas, tops amongst all teams in their conference. Opponents scoring just under 60 points per game. They force turnovers. No secret the way that Coach Schaefer and the Texas staff and team wants to play, and that really one of the biggest points of intrigue for this game, the contrast in styles. Iowa State, a team that likes to shoot the three, can do it so well. But Texas wanting to get a little ugly.
Nice out of bounds play right there by Iowa State. Send somebody long, make the defense adjust to that, and then you have an easier pass to inbound the basketball.
Ryan bringing the ball up. trying to work the ball into the post. Getting the position initially was Kane. It led to the shot, getting her own rebound for the second chance.
Yeah, and another opportunity for Kane on the low block where she's just taking her time. Missed the first one, gathered herself and made a play.
Warren with the contest from Kane. Ryan back the other way. Foul called, Harmon taking the charge.
Yeah, again, we see that matchup with Emily Ryan, the sophomore, number 11, and Rory Harmon. Her quickness defensively, Harmon at 5'7", the freshman has been really good at the offensive end today, but just sets herself and takes the contact, absorbs that contact. See that smile. If there's one thing that Rory Harmon has done well this year, and she never struggles with defensively, is her ability to put pressure on the basketball and be in help side position.
That a big development too, because obviously the premium on ball handlers bringing the ball up for Iowa State. Their point guard in Ryan sitting on the bench now with 3 fouls. Is that easy work for Texas to get the bucket?
And we see Zanarski move to the point guard position now. Another player that is a sophomore this season, usually the shooting guard on the perimeter.
It's really kind of ebbed and flowed. You talked about when Iowa State seemed to be able to get into their offense easier. Great seal and entry pass to find Kane.
The hardest part is handling the initial onslaught of Texas's defense. As a ball handler against Harmon, you have to take care of the ball, and then you can't pick up your dribble and get in a situation where you allow Texas to deny the ball.
Shot clock is off. Texas with a 3-point advantage. Can they build on that to head into the locker room? Harmon will initiate. Pulls up for the jumper, and that is good. Rory Harmon helped get Texas on track after that slow start shooting-wise, but the Longhorns will go into the half, 31-26. Harmon pushed Iowa State.
Yeah.
But a good job Texas has done thus far. Both teams shooting 38%, but the 10 turnovers for Iowa State leads to 10 points for Texas. Part of the reason why the Longhorns are at the advantage. Jones, a 19.9 points per game scorer, just 7 in the first half. Texas into Warren. She was a bright spot for Texas offensively. Shot clock does reset. Working the ball into Ebo, playing physical down there, connecting with Kane, who comes up with the ball. Give me a couple keys for both teams this second half.
Oh, well, for Iowa State, they have got to take care of the ball. 10 turnovers and a half is way too many, and they need to settle down on offense and just keep doing the things they do well and handle the pressure. For Texas, I think make some layups. They've had some easy shots. I think they're 3 for 12 on layups in this game right now, so that would help them a tremendous amount.
Harmon with a little contact. It was not called, so a turnover as the feet got mixed up. As we take a look at our game summary comparison brought to you by thezebra.com. As mentioned, equal in shooting percentage. Texas with the +2 advantage, but the turnover numbers were the difference.
Yeah, and rebounding, I thought Iowa State did a better job. They were out-rebounded early by a bunch and got on the boards, played better defense, especially those defensive rebounds. It's so critical to finish off their defensive plays.
That felt like a first half of kind of micro runs for both teams, punching and counter-punching. As Ebo works through the contact, opportunity for a 3-point play.
It's been entertaining watching Kane and Ebo on the inside, and also Jordao as well, but this time you see Ebo, and she's using her arms, using that body of hers, really welcoming the physicality of the game today. And we've really seen growth, I think, in Lauren Ebo in the past month, has really embraced the fact that she's a leader on this team, that they need her to produce on the inside. 61% from the free throw line as she missed it. Got another opportunity, but cannot convert. Texas winners of 7 of the last 10 these two teams have met, including the last 4. It was a great one in the Big 12 tournament last year. They beat Iowa State 84-82 in an overtime matchup. Coach Finley hasn't really been able to crack that code. He said that the style that Texas plays is a great back cut and find, do with the finish. Boy, that play was all about Ashley Jones dribbling about 30 times and just waiting until something opened up. Good defense by Texas until the very end.
Jones having to tie her shoe, that left shoelace, but we made note Emily Ryan, the starting point guard, as Warren is good. On the bench with 3 fouls, so maybe part of the reason Dew getting the start for Iowa State in this second half.
Absolutely part of the reason. And I think for Iowa State, they could use some help from their other guards. If you look at Ryan, she had 5 points. Dinarski, 0 points in the first half.
That is one thing Texas wants to prevent. One thing that Iowa State wants is Jones to get going, just 3 points away now from becoming the program all-time leader in scoring. Texas with a 5-point advantage. Alan Taylor is good.
Good patience offensively against that zone. And one of the things Texas has grown at, I think, in the last couple of games is their zone offense. They are patient, they attack, and boy, when you have Joanne Allen Taylor that can knock that down, that helps.
Harmon averages 4.3 assists per game. In the first meeting between these two teams, she had just 1, but currently sitting at 7 after that fine for Allen Taylor. That tailbone, lower back, whatever it was, looking pretty good. Jones with the step back. Harmon with the rebound. Find again. Allen Taylor decides to not pull the trigger. I thought she was going there.
Yeah, she's a veteran player, knows that it's worthwhile to take time off the clock, make the defense work a little.
Harmon probing, calls her own number, finishing off the glass.
Yeah, and Vic Schaefer on the sideline saying, hey, that's a foul. You need to call that on the interior. Good job by Harmon of getting to the paint and finishing on balance. She's had trouble with finishing off balance at times on the interior.
Was just going to ask you, if you're Coach Finley, how long do you wait to bring Emily Ryan back in? She's up to check in. Iowa State trailing by 10. Texas off to a great start in the second half.
Guards, and whenever they're playing a perimeter-oriented team, they do very, very well.
Beautiful save by Warren to keep that in, tipping it to Ebo.
And again, you see Audrey Warren making plays that don't necessarily show up on a stat sheet all the time.
Ebo, Harmon, Holly, Allen Taylor, and Warren, the 5 on the floor for Texas.
And Texas just running that dribble drive offense against the 2-3 zone.
Harmon rattles it home for her 11th point, leading point scorer in the contest.
I like that pull-up jumper by Harmon, and you see Iowa State struggling to get the basketball inbounds again. Feels like they're struggling to do anything with the basketball here tonight.
7-0 scoring run for Texas over the last 2 minutes and change. We were talking about the struggles for Iowa State, how many times they've been able to actually run their offense over the course of this contest. In the battle of wills and styles, Texas definitely winning as Harmon with the steal. Texas running the break. Dew with a nice hustle to tip that ball and allow the Cyclones to reset their defense. But the story has been the Texas defense dictating the pace of this contest, allowing Texas to build a 12-point advantage here at home. Striking distance and a very important win it would be for Texas.
Yeah, and if Oklahoma just losing today to Texas Tech, that's a big loss. And so you're really chasing Iowa State right now, who has 10 wins. You need to get those wins. And Vic Schaefer, the coach for Texas, talks about this all the time. We haven't done a good job of stacking wins. We need to stack wins, get our win percentage up there. But that conference is bunched up right there.
Texas 17-6 overall, 7-5 in Big 12 play, 21-3. As that one bounces off from 3 from Jones's Iowa State. 10-2 they are. Oklahoma at Kansas and against Texas Tech at home. Their upcoming 3 games with 4 remaining in the regular season as contact foul will be called.
And you start looking also, if you remember earlier in the season, Baylor was down there towards the bottom of conference standings. They've recovered and have won a ton of games. They're back up there in the runnings for another Big 12 regular season title, depending on how things shake out here at the end. But they have a favorable schedule towards the end of the year.
Aubrey Jones, the younger of the Jones sisters, sophomore, is in the game wearing number 20 in the Cardinal and gold. Is Warren off the glass with the left.
Yeah, again, that dribble drive. I think Texas is so aggressive into the paint. They try to get into the paint, into the teeth of the defense, and been effective at it.
See just how hard Iowa State is having to work just to get the ball in.
Well, you see the philosophy here in the second half. Get the ball in the hands of Jones and let her go to work. Audrey Warren, though, doing a terrific job defensively of giving her nothing easy.
Jones 3 of 7 from the field, as she's missed the last 2. Still just 3 points away as Harmon from 3 is good.
Yeah, Harmon looking for her shot today, being very offensive-minded, something she's certainly capable of.
Trio of subs waiting to come in for the Cyclones. Can they break this 12-0 scoring run for Texas over the last 4.5? Ryan sent back by Ebo. Tech will go to Coach Finley. He is absolutely hot. Bill Finley, one of the best guys in our game, always makes time for us, and we'll have a great conversation, but he is absolutely very frustrated with what is going on right now.
Well, it is incredibly physical on the interior right now, and just defending his players, wanting some calls made, hoping to turn the tide, I think, for his team right now that's struggling at the offensive end.
Warren making the first for Texas. Making both, can the technical foul spark the Cyclones as a 14-0 run.
You know, we talked to Bill Finley today about what it was about Texas, why Texas had their number. Texas has won the last 4 meetings before today against Iowa State. And he's like, it's just, they're really, really hard for us to guard, and we struggle against their pressure. And it's just, that's been the story today.
Miscommunication between Holly and Harmon. Holly expecting Harmon to flash to the ball, but that pass sailing out of bounds.
Texas has done a nice job, I think, of taking care of the basketball today. They had 5 turnovers in the first half.
Just 1 thus far in the second half, as you see Iowa State with 3 more. Texas able to capitalize 14 points off of the Iowa State turnovers. Lead at 19. A nearly 5-minute scoring drought for the visitors. Their best ranking in 20 years, as tied up as Warren. Right there on Jones, a jump ball. Possession staying to this side.
Audrey Warren is locked in defensively right now from the free throw line, anticipates this play all the way. Look at her run to catch up with Jones, and then able to get the tie up right there. And that's why Jones is having such a tough night.
Movement foul call trying to work through was Espen Miller in the brawl. Shea Holly will be the one charged.
Audrey Warren has just really thrived, I think, in this Vic Schaefer offense and defense. He often talks about her as his type of player, and it's because she's physical and tough. And I heard him call his whole team gritty in the press conference the other day, which is something he wouldn't have done a couple of months ago or even a few weeks ago.
Well, by the tenor of the 2 shoot-arounds that we saw this morning, Iowa State very loose, looked confident. Texas had what looked like almost a practice. They had to run a couple times. Coach Schaefer was very upset, but obviously paying dividends. And what we see thus far, Texas with a 19-point advantage. Working into Kane. Ebo defending. Shot clock dwindling as Ryan lays it up.
Yeah, just another breakdown defensively. The ball went inside. Texas played great defense, and Harmon falling asleep a little bit.
And Texas continue this momentum that they've carried throughout the entirety of the third. And the Cyclones find some life to head into the fourth. Harmon continues her hot shooting.
Why not. And again, Texas with that dribble drive offense. Harmon just reading the defense. She was open. She's going to take it. I'm going to tell you, that girl can shoot. Lauren Ebo out there smiling. She is playing so hard right now. Defensively, technically, she's really good. If you watch the hedge that she gives help defensively. She's there to double team.
See Harmon right there as well to force the turnover. The travel by Ryan for yet another turnover.
That smile on Lauren Ebo's face. She has just played very, very well. Anytime an Iowa State player turns and puts the ball on the floor and turns their back, that is the go-to thing for the Texas defenders today. Go double team, wreak some havoc on the inside, and that's what Ebo is doing.
Emily Ryan, leader in assists in the Big 12. It's being held quiet right now. Averages over 7, just 2 thus far. Iowa State just 12 made field goals, 5 assists on there. Can they get another one here?
Nice.
That was crucial. Maggie Espin-Miller-McGraw, the junior from Indianola, Iowa, drills the 3.
Yeah, and that's the first time really for Iowa State that I've seen them run offense today. They did what they normally do, what they're good at.
Alan Taylor off the dribble. A quick response from Texas.
The Cyclones just don't have an answer for guarding the one-on-one penetration for Texas right now.
Shot clock off. It should be the final shot of a third quarter that has been dominated by the Texas Longhorns. Cannot get a shot off in time. Coach Schaefer knew that it wasn't in time, has to be very pleased the way his team played in the third quarter. Big lead for Texas, up 18.
Coming out of high school, big expectations for her coming into the college level, and has excelled defensively pretty much every game. But number 3 in white today has been exceptional on offense.
Jones for 3, that just off, so still chasing that record. That would have done it.
And how about this number? Texas held Iowa State to just 5 points in those last 6 minutes of the third quarter.
Yeah, Longhorns outscored the Cyclones 22-9 in that third quarter.
Yeah, and this is what you don't want to see, and I'm sure right now Audrey Warren will be coming back into the game. Iowa State's the kind of team that while we've seen them miss shots, we've also seen them come back in games by hitting a number of threes back to back to back. So you can't have turnovers, you can't lose your focus.
They can make them. I think for Harmon too, you go back to that 0 for 8 start from the field for Texas, and it was Rory Harmon that really settled the Longhorns down, making a couple of jumpers. Jones trying to probe to find her shot, but Warren right there, pounding her. Will switch off and do the same on Ryan. Finds a way through.
Yeah, and Audrey Warren just taking too much of a chance right there. Took herself out of the play when she hedged on that switch, and great move right there by Ryan.
One of the things we saw Coach Schaefer talk to his team about was just the playbook. He pulled it out of his pocket as a foul will be called against Ebo on the hook, but he said, "You want to see it?" I asked him how many plays. Looked
Yeah.
like there were about 50 on the play card, but he was talking about where they're at as a coaching staff and with these young players, and still just trying to learn the offensive playbook.
Yeah, and I think just really doing things that have principles, and really coming out with great focus, and focusing on the things you do well. At this point of the year, you really need to do that. One of the things Texas does well is deny and put pressure.
Yeah, if you're worried about your team learning the playbook, they definitely have the defensive identity. Both teams forcing steals. Harmon will be called for the contact.
But a second,
Ryan was bringing it up.
But a second turnover for Texas right there in the transition game that time. Just a pass that didn't need to be made by Rory Harmon, and coming back and fouling.
Second foul on Rory Harmon. First foul, excuse me.
Nice anticipation. She just made it up there on that out-of-bounds play, Rory Harmon, with great anticipation.
Yeah, Coach Schaefer told us earlier in the year that by the end of her career, Rory Harmon would be one of, if not the best point guards in the country. Making me look good for calling that out right there.
Absolutely. Well, you look good all the time, but I'll tell you what, you go behind a screen like that was set right there, and Rory Harmon's going to make you look good for that screen you set. You go under, you cannot do that.
These are two young players that will be battling across the course of their careers.
Speaking of battling, those two have been battling today on the interior, and I think there's a few new Lauren Ebo fans in the house now. I heard a couple of "Lauren Ebo, I love you" from the stands earlier.
Getting the best of Jordow. Texas trying to push the advantage to 20 or more. Harmon with the step back. Rebound collected. Ryan and Iowa State still within striking distance. She's done a nice job probing.
Yeah, and Lauren Ebo just looks a little bit gassed right now. There's been a big battle out there. Wasn't able to hedge on that play. And you see how quickly Iowa State will hurt you.
If you're Iowa State, is the idea, hey, let's try to get this to 10 points, single digits by halfway timeout?
Absolutely. You just keep pushing. You have to get a couple of defensive stands here and there. And, you know, you're going to have bad nights, but just as I say she's gassed, Lauren Ebo puts it in on the interior. I mean, I think Finley would like to look for his team to get some easy looks, and he has had very few easy looks on the perimeter. Look at that defense. Did you see her get around the screen and then go get the steal?
Jordow was right there, and that 6'3" could have absolutely crushed Harmon, but the awareness to get around and then find the ball. Harmon, one of the best in the Big 12 at swiping it. 54 steals, leading the conference in total steals. Holly off the glass.
And that was the mandate. And when Vic Schaefer came down this time, he said Rory Harmon settled for that three-pointer the time before. He said, I want somebody taking the ball to the hoop. I can read his mind now, by the way.
Harmon with 5 steals. Texas has continued to develop that lead, looking to make it 2 victories over the leader in the Big 12 currently, Longhorns, with a commanding 20-point advantage. Oklahoma, who we talked about, lost earlier, projected as a 3. Baylor a 3 as well. Texas a 4. K-State a 7. And Kansas a 10. So currently 6 teams projected in the NCAA tournament from the Big 12. How do you think this result will impact that?
You know, I think that Iowa State is you know, they have to come out and probably win a couple of games here. I'm going to answer your question in a second. I think they can slide to a 2. They'll probably stay at a 2, slide to a 3 at some point if they lose this game. But if you look at their schedule, they still have to play Oklahoma and Baylor, and then they have to play on the road at Kansas and West Virginia, which are 2 very, very tough games. So it'd be nice to see all of those teams that are there in the top 4 kind of remain in the top 16 for the Big 12. So all of the teams can host in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament.
Siler Denning, Andrea Lloyd here to close this one out as Jones an opportunity now to become the all-time scoring leader in Iowa State program history. This tied her for that career lead with Angie Welly.
Well, and Bridget Carlton was at number 2, not far behind Welly, and Jones broke that record with her first 4 points of the day.
That'll do it. So the best scoring Cyclone ever. She needed 12 points. That put her there. I'm sure she would be much more content with her team getting a victory. Do they have one last push? 2,149 points. She came in with Ashley Jones, one of the most electric scoring, shooting, and all-around players. You look at what she's added to her game. Over the time that you've watched her, how has she evolved?
I think the one thing I can say about her is she's talented, but she puts her work in, and she has changed her game, modified her game, added to her game every single year. She is a tremendous athlete, a tremendous scorer, and a tremendous teammate and leader for this Iowa State team.
It'll be very interesting for both of these teams. Obviously, this win now 3 in a row, were it to hold, it would be for Texas with a couple road dates coming up at West Virginia, at Kansas State. 5 games remaining for Texas. They have 2 more remaining here in the Irwin Center before they close down their play here. You see now the all-time career scoring leader, senior Ashley Jones.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable. You don't see a record like that broken every day. You don't see a player like Jones every day. She hasn't had a tremendous night today, on the floor here, but she is such a fabulous player. You see that point. She is never going to back down. You will see her play through the last second of the game.
Mentioned sister Aubrey on the team, and then their youngest.
Yep, they have another sister coming up through the ranks that they hope to see at Iowa State one day.
So the Jones family and their Cardinal and Gold ties running thick. So a special moment. But just to go back to that bigger conversation, it's going to be great to see Iowa State. Can they hold on to maintain that advantage? Stacking those wins, those 10 wins are so important. This would be just their 3rd loss in conference play. So still very much in the driver's seat as Alan Taylor nails the shot but can't nail the dap with Harmon afterwards. But jump ball will be called. Harmon thought she had another steal. She'd already tied her young career high with 5 thus far, but this will be an interesting juncture to watch for both of these teams, where they go from here.
Absolutely. The last few weeks of this season for the Big 12 is going to be very, very interesting and fun to watch. I think postseason play, you have a lot of young players, a lot of experienced players in the Big 12. It's great to see the turnaround for Kansas this season. And remember what they did last year is they were 3-15 and tied for 9th in the Big 12. This year they have 18 wins on the season, 9-4 in conference play. Huge turnaround for them. So Big 12 very, very strong.
Harmon with the pull-up, rattles it home. Thought it was a great question that you asked Coach Finley about the Big 12 and his answer in terms of Baylor has been so dominant as Warren forces the steal, but maybe you forgot about some of the other teams and the good ball that we play in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because they've been so dominant, I think the other teams have not looked as good as maybe they were as the crowd gets into it here. I mean, Texas has not backed down defensively for a second, and I know that Coach Schaefer and Joanne Allen Taylor has talked about the intensity it's going to take defensively throughout the course of a game to continue and finish this season, and the importance of that. They've shown it today.
Texas just getting that off before the shot clock expired, but pushed on by their fans. Texas looking to add another signature win, important win to their resume. We will talk overall resumes, where these teams stand. Texas with the big advantage. 2 minutes, 38 seconds left. Net ranking go up. They were ahead of Iowa State by virtue of the schedule that they played, especially those quality wins that they had.
Yeah, I think those quality wins, Texas really got the attention of the committee early on, and it's been their play in the last few weeks that's also garnered more attention. Just the fact, I mean, I think that's something the committee looks at is how well are you playing late? What wins have you had lately? And Texas is doing a nice job with that. They struggled there for a while. They played Baylor twice. They played at Oklahoma, had 3 losses in a row, and Texas has really responded since then.
Yeah, the one difference, you look at those net losses, Texas Tech 72 in the net ranking, Kansas 35. That's not necessarily bad, but why Texas may be inhibited and how high they go up. But to your point, plenty of quality wins left to close out the season, as Texas has looked very impressive tonight and over this last stretch of 3 games.
Yeah, I'm interested to see with Texas. I think their end of season schedule, they have 3 games on the road, and then as you mentioned, the final 2 games in the Frank Irwin Center before they move to the Moody Center next year. But at West Virginia, at K-State, at Kansas, and this is a team that I'm not sure yet understands the urgency of the end of the season. I mean, they're playing very, very hard, but they have never hosted a tournament game for first and second round. As you see, Vic Schaefer giving an embrace to Rory Harmon, who had a tremendous game today. But that's an example of a young player that's playing well today, and he needs to keep them playing well.
26-9 as the freshman from Houston, Texas will sit down. Special moment between her and coach. Figure to have plenty more of those across her long career.
Went over the 100 assist mark for a freshman in this game today. Only 7 other players have done that as freshmen.
She's one of 2 freshmen in the country with 200 or more points, 100 or more rebounds, and now 100 or more assists. So Texas trying to put a bow on this one. For Iowa State, it won't hurt them. They have no losses outside of the net, 25 overall in terms of their tournament resume. Where it can affect them is now following to 10-3 in Big 12 play, and it allows Baylor, a team that they have to play again, Oklahoma, a team that they will play in their next contest, and Kansas, a team that they will play after that Oklahoma matchup, to be within striking distance.
Several tough games for Iowa State coming up, and they'll just have to go home and regroup. And this isn't unusual. Again, Texas has won the last 4 games. This will be 5, and just a tough team to play against for Iowa State.
Will still be a historic night for Ashley Jones. She has moved into rare air. Lone atop the scoring category career-wise at Iowa State. Needed 12 points coming into this game, has 16. 5 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Freshman Anissa Gutierrez from Mansfield, Texas will check in. 6th game that she's played on the season.
I've watched Gutierrez in practice, and I'll tell you one thing, she is a great teammate, and she's improved in this season, so her teammates excited to see her out on the floor, the fans excited to see her out on the floor. Iowa State also going with substitutions.
Well, we talked first matchup, the one that was in Ames, Hilton Coliseum, always so tough to play. In that, Texas held Iowa State to their lowest point scoring output of the season. Granted, that was without the 2 Jones sisters, but tonight with both of them, Texas has them sitting at 48 points once again. Step through is good, Matharu. Shot clock was dwindling and gets one up. Nothing but net.
Yeah, she acts like she had that planned right there. Just calmness right there, sort of watched everybody bobble the basketball. Good awareness. I mean, we know she's a great shooter. That was tremendous, though. I'm going to take a look at this.
Hey, they got to get Gutierrez. They got to get her name on the back of the jersey.
I'll have you work on that for him.
I know she's played just 7 minutes across the course of the season, but you get a big lead. That's always where the fans come to their feet. They love to see the whole bench play as Texas. Is this the most impressive win they've had this season?
The win against Oklahoma, I thought, was a very, very impressive win. But I thought defensively today, Texas really, from the get-go, was very, very good. I mean, to hold a team like Iowa State to just 48 points is tough. You have a lot of scorers out there, a lot of people that can handle the basketball. Vic Schaefer, tremendous job of preparing his team today for this victory. And it's back-to-back with Oklahoma, so they've played 2 teams that are good on the perimeter, and they've done a nice job with both of those teams.
Yeah, Iowa State team that averages 78.8 points per game, so 30 points beneath that average. And you had said the phrase, we hear it from coaches all the time, especially this time of year, stacking wins, and that is what Texas will now do, their 3rd win in a row, as they are finding their form at a perfect time in this season. 2 coaches will exchange. The handshake is Texas defeats the 6th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones emphatically, 73-48. 5th straight victory against Iowa State. Coach Schaefer seems to have Coach Finley's number, but Andrea, you look forward, and obviously plenty of games for these teams to close out the regular season. They had an absolutely great one in the Big 12 tournament last year, but always fun when these 2 get together.